All right, thanks for joining again. Today we're going to kind of go through a demo of the GitHub Galaxy Explorer. So backing up Stellarview allows you to take a deep dive into almost any GitHub repository, kind of understand it, look at it in a number of unique and interesting ways. As we saw, generating issues, enhancement issues, bug fix issues that follow the software development lifecycle in kind of a safe and controlled and secure way, but embracing AI. So you can see some of the other things there, but in particular, we want to do, as mentioned, we're going to go into the Galaxy Explorer now. The GitHub Galaxy Explorer prime directive is to generate all of the requirements, all of the analysis to create a whole new application and to scaffold it into Stellarview so that you can then generate the code, maintain it, enhance it in quite a dramatic way. Now, the GitHub Galaxy Explorer is a unique way to kind of start by taking a look at your target your target build. In this case, I think I want to choose something that probably most of us can understand, but a modern web app. So a modern web app might be, based upon React in a database. It could be Angular. It could be Python. It could even be some other frameworks, some pseudo CMS or pseudo application frameworks, Django, or any number of other ones. A lot of it's going to stem around, what in particular that you want to build. And even more so, I think a lot of groups are already going to have a target area that that they want to focus and probably should, based upon anything that they're maintaining currently, any kind of skills that they have in-house, and some other things that fit along with their pattern. So I'm going to try to create a demo here that kind of speaks to a bit of everyone. So let's, first discuss GitHub Galaxy Explorer. So if we put in a topic, let's say, a React app or a CRM is a good one to kind of take a look at and just start by viewing the GitHub world and seeing some relationships in these GitHub repos, and also into the relationships of these GitHub repos and other development paradigms surrounding them that give us a good idea of how we need to build, what's available to build, good practices, and so forth. So let's just jump right in. So if we want to take a look at just the React.js world, let's go ahead and enter a tag here. So what you're going to see is we're going out into GitHub and pulling in, let's say 100 to 150 of the most relevant repos for what we're doing here. We're going to kind of walk you through how this is displayed, because it becomes more powerful the more you understand what it's trying to do. So at the very beginning, what we've done is as we said, is pull in a bunch of GitHub repos. Now, each of these are a different repo, and we've done an analysis between these repos to create a graph, that shows us the relationships of which other related projects are related to what to which. For example, just even quickly taking a look at the React modal and how many other popular repositories are referencing and extending it based upon it, and so forth. A number of things. Express React Views. Express.js is a framework. So this is something that would help us if we were choosing Express as our pseudo backend here. A lot of other type of things kind of become really apparent right away. But what I want to do to start out is just quickly back up, and I'm going to spin this Galaxy. And I'm going to talk about this. So what you're seeing here is all of our private repositories in GitHub for all of the things that my GitHub developer key is allowed to see. And in this case, most of these are my company's internal private repositories that we're developing on a daily basis. And inside, you're going to see here that our subject exploration here now shows the most popular and how all of these things are related. Very, very cool to begin to understand and to tour what the population at large is doing with that type of repository. How are they building? What sort of libraries are they using? What are their patterns? What are their paradigms? So a lot of times we're always starting from something somewhere, especially in the AI days. So we want to be able to understand and look at some of these repositories because we're going to use them to build a new app, but using all of the good knowledge that AI can garner from them as an example. So let's go ahead and jump right in. What we can do is a lot of times, for instance, if we wanted a React application that generated documents, if we wanted a React application that, let's say, implemented some modals, or the React transition group, or React Rails. So interesting, we can look at all of these things, or we can do some other searches. So if we said, we were going to build a React CRM. What are other people building out there? How are they building? Are they relying on some sort of internal framework? Are they, utilizing a CMS underneath? So once again, what we can do, look at that. Some interview questions, React views, server components demo. A lot of these are showing up. There's a good one for, React with a Ruby on Rails, I would assume. But we're going to go ahead and spin this galaxy, and we're going to kind of take a look around. Oh, Laravel CRM. So if you haven't used Laravel, if you want a PHP backend, but with a React front end, Laravel's amazing, been around for many, many years, and you couldn't go wrong. Now, if you're not in that area and you don't plan to build, Laravel or PHP, then maybe that's not for you. But as we keep going, we can look at some of these others here, and the React Autocomplete. A lot of these are things that you will probably use in your React app, but they're related. Oh, look at that. So here's a Django CRM. Let's look at that. 417 stars and 268 forks. Okay, not small by any means, but analytical CRM with task management, email marketing, and many more. Django CRM is that built for individual use by businesses. This is excellent, although you may choose to go with one with more of a larger scale environment. But I want to be kind of brief here. But I'm going to take you right in that this is, let's say that this is an area that I think we can all understand and build. This is the it was Hello World, then it was Hello CRM, and then now it's Hello AI CRM. So where are we going to go? So the analyzing here very quickly is running a series of prompts that have been carefully crafted to take this information in this graph and to start really analyzing this repository. So what this does, now takes it to the next level of CRM built with Django, Python, and then it even goes from further to act as a pseudo developer or as a planner. Here's what you're going to need to get this thing going, and these are just a few commands to get it going. So gives you your first steps. But actually we're going to go and we're going to dig even deeper. So say for instance now we're given this task. Great, may have used some Python, so forth. We understand Django. Is it WordPress? Is it Drupal? It's kind of funny, but as you dig through, you can see some similar projects that are built around like a CRM. Obviously, the big daddy original of them all, the Sugar CRM, Salesforce, Django, Oscar. But really, more importantly, what you can do is even now projects using this example repo. So, what are the best people doing, and what are the best people that are mirroring the best people doing? How did they build their app? And what does it take? So we can utilize a lot of that to bootstrap us getting started. Now, compare that to, just going to the command line and getting started. But what we're going to do is pick a few of these. Pick a few. And we're going to go ahead and model those. Let's go ahead and just get started real quick. So this is going to be not to get too caught up into the example details, but what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to take a look at all of those. We're going to do a deep dive using AI and using our smart prompts to pattern that to forward create an application. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to go prepare a repo for this to do its work. It will create the repo, but my developer key doesn't allow that, and you probably want to keep it limited in scope. So okay, we're just going to do with this. Probably should do a little bit more planning there. Now, you can follow along with some of the other stuff. We have some Git stuff. But basically, I keep all mine in a certain directory. We're just going to go ahead and follow the easy instructions here. We're just going to do this. Let's just create a directory and run these. Get you started. So let's do that. Okay. Let's just grab those. Now we have a quick little scaffolded as repo. So let's go ahead and jump back and get right into it, because this is really fun. This has my last things. Probably should have cleared that out, but this is going to be a Django React. I was doing some Java and Bamboo earlier. Okay. Now here, bore you with the details, but we want to be sure that we have an admin. Okay, maybe a little sloppy here, but key features are run out of the box. We'll let it handle it if it doesn't, but we'll move on here for brevity. But really, what we're doing at this point is to walk through a series of smart prompts, and we've talked about that a couple times, but these smart prompts are really a flow of carefully crafted prompts. But more than that, you've seen how each step is inserting the practici. It's inserting the information about your team and those things that we've carefully crafted about your software development lifecycle, about your styles, your preferences, those types of things. Are crafted around a team. Now, if a team doesn't have them, that's where Stellarview kind of comes with a best practices 80-90%. It's a great way to start. Certainly for hello CRM demos here. All right, here after some minutes, doing some thinking, we've walked through the new development, smart prompts. I'm going to take you over. Let's go ahead and jump into our... so here we can see the ACS Django CRM. What we've done is we've created a new issue for the Django React CRM Foundation. Now, the examples that we picked we assume were what we wanted to pattern, and so all of the things come from there. We could be a lot more disciplined in the creation of some of the key points, but let's just kind of take a look and see how our smart prompts interpreted what we were saying and how it analyzed these target repos. And let's just kind of read through it real quick. I won't bore you, but the CRM Foundation project aims to create a robust, scalable relationship management platform. It's a framework for enterprise applications. Exactly. So I wanted it to basically be able to plug in some apps and handle the user and so forth and get me started. Now building apps and plug them into it. We'll talk about that later. So built on Django, React. So you can see we pick it up like that. So some other business value and technical approaches that, are sprinkled in here. And you can see that this new development flow is actually a series of 3 smart prompts. So with a lot of information from the Practic-AI and so forth in there. So a lot of this stuff isn't just, it isn't really AI fluff. It's things that we ask for. And so, when we get into the template part, the smart templates, we'll see how to edit those and change them to your liking and redo it and test and to see how effective we're being. So a CRM Foundation administrative information interface, Tailwind CSS, you see it picked it up. And let's go ahead and so you can see some of the hats, these kind of sub agents, and how we go through what would be kind of a proper software development lifecycle. But you're going to see the architecture and tech stack, back end Django, PostgreSQL. Okay, some interesting stuff, some interesting mermaid diagrams, the blueprints coming from the Django, the views on ECS or ECS or EC2. We'll talk about the deployment later. But must-have features: user story, system administrator. I want to create user accounts. So this is darn good. I'm actually quite tickled. And what we have now is a new repository with the complete specification for a new, development. Let's go ahead and go right over. This is the exciting thing now. Is really let's make sure that everything's refreshed back into the Stellarview main view. The concept of a new galaxy has been created, so we essentially have an empty. What is an empty new galaxy? Here, even if we then go ahead and let's refresh that. Okay, let's go ahead and spawn, create some of our graph references, but of course there are none. So back in here, if you've seen any of the Stellarview, you understand that we model the SDLC. We give you some great patterns, but this is what the initial looks like on a brand new repository all set up. So, essentially we have our main request for a new application. We assume that this would be something that is approved by the organization. Everybody's in line. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into the missions. I don't think I've shown you guys a mission yet, but this mission is going to be what we call an analysis mission. The analysis mission says, I'm going to determine what to do with this issue. So this issue happens to be a tag of new developments. The new development is associated with the three-prong development approach here: validate architecture, and plan out what we're going to build. We'll talk about StarKeeper later. We're going to go ahead and run this in auto mode, so it essentially runs all the prompts. We could do these individually, you've seen, inside of the GitHub companion, but I'm going to go ahead and start this analysis mission because then it'll allow me to wave my hands around and talk while it's going. So now, based upon the GitHub issue, we've all talked through it, presumably. We can use GitHub for all kinds of things about this module. For instance, we can create a wiki on it. We can create issues. We can track issues. We can do code. We can share it. We can ask people to be assigned to it. Pretty much the GitHub way, combined with, let's say, Jira and help desk software and some other project management softwares have all kind of become a ubiquitous set of tools that we all should be working in the software development lifecycle. So unfortunately, or fortunately or unfortunately, as technology goes so fast, many people really kind of getting left behind. That too many times we're interviewing people and they've not worked in GitHub yet, and they've not worked with CI/CD platforms, and a lot of software development concepts are getting missed. Especially with AI, where the AI is just kind of substituting for knowledge and then not being read and so forth. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to model the regular software development lifecycle using all the tools. However, we're trying to almost short circuit. I see it's on step 3 here, but we're almost trying to create velocity in the maturity life cycle of a developer or a team or even a group, an organization who is just now getting to a modernized tech stack flow. And there are millions of applications and environments that are like that. They just, but no fault of their own, they're making money, they're living, so that's the biggest thing, is just be living and not some sort of dead star sitting out in the galaxy. So there's no shame in where everybody is in the maturity cycle. I've talked about my imposter syndrome a lot of times. I can't learn enough. I can't know enough. And I always feel that I'm chasing, some sort of better process. So now with this, we can go through the real life cycles. We can do and we embrace the AI to now work faster, to use the AI to carefully take our knowledge and craft its knowledge into these manageable things. So this analysis mission, may take, I guess maybe it's been 2 minutes, 3 minutes since maybe I've been talking, but well worth it. Not necessarily meant for a human to wait. If not necessary, we can run it in the background. You'll see when we get later that these are just deployed to the cloud and they run, in your code generation complex. But the important part is we're going to see, and maybe even we already are, is each of these sub-agents now are going out and based upon their own set of prompts to analyze that, are using this design to now do things for us. So for instance, let's just go look at 2 minutes ago, we hit step 1, which is the requirements validation. So the requirements validation is a special prompt, and there's been a lot of time to put in there to direct the AI to help us evaluate what the first part did. So if we were to put on that hat and walk through those things, we would get, hey, yes, you're correct. This is the best way. No, we don't want that. We really want a little competition between some of these things. Wear the right hat, and not competition, but professional scrutiny. So database backup requirements, good stuff, but we may not choose to do that. We also, as you've seen, we may choose to refine these in the GitHub flow in Stellarview. So now all of those prompts are finished. Let's go ahead and just refresh. Although we didn't get any new issues, we didn't need to refresh. So now, but what I want you to see is now the software development lifecycle is represented here. We've seen this before, or maybe you have, but here's where all of these smart prompts output are located. Now, even more so, we could easily go into GitHub and we could view these, and we could comment on them right there, and we can do things. But here, we have the ability of having the practici. We have the ability of having the context from the analysis of the application, from our practici and any of the other things, the README documents and so forth, available to us when we embrace AI here. So now the results of this can be commented on from me as a person, as a reviewer, an architect, to review this, comment it. I can also refine it using AI right here in this little loop and flow. And the refinement now has my comments, my thoughts, plus everything else, in a quick, repetitive, iterative fashion. Should not say repetitive. And then we can approve that and so forth. So you can see the security that's kind of built in, and you're going to see each step in the analysis has taken place here. Now, StarKeeper We'll save that for later, but it's an opposing set of views. It's an opposing set of agents that say, okay, you have an issue. Now I see that the design agents have done their thing. As Starkeeper, I'm going to come through and I'm going to analyze it with my security hat, with my cost hat, and we're going to make sure that we have followed the practice. So you see these checks and balances of knowledge, and then basically good modeling of processes, and then you're going to see a check and balance of those. So great stuff. So interestingly enough, after we've gone through and done all of those things, when we deploy now, we have, or we should have, a brand new execution mission ready. So it's pretty cool. You notice that we are on the project, the ACS Django CRM. It intends to create a branch, so we're going to be safe here. We're going to create a branch. We're going to make sure we're on master. We're following a good Git practice, a good Git flow, which isn't that intuitive to everybody at all times, nor should we have to really work at that level, all the time. But we can see that we have already done the prerequisites. That means that all of the steps that are required by an issue, does it have an architectural validation? Does it have all of these things? Have you identified those and so forth? Are pretty much built in checks. So, but here we see that our Claude's ready to go. It's tested, set up. We see the mission here that it's going to do some things. It's just not going to do anything different than we would do as a developer. It's going to fetch the origin. It's going to pull it, get the latest changes, check out, do its features, call Claude, add, commit. The commits will have our Practiceyes templates. It'll create a PR and so forth. So interesting you've seen that, we've gotten this far. I want to go ahead and run this because this is where really the rubber meets the road. This is the exciting part, and I get to yap at you a little more. Apologize for this being long. I may even cut out here, but if this was 5 minutes or this was an hour, you've already seen that the ability to analyze a process, analyze and utilize a practice to embrace AI and good practices and to keep these things in a tightly controlled software development lifecycle, you can see that these things are going to add value to the entire team, much more than vibe coding. 6 months ago, the best I hoped for was build me an app that does this. Oh no, I want this. Oh, you messed up this. Great. And that only goes so far. It's the hello world where, once you're past it, you're like, oh, there's another reality here. So as the process of then that works into a coding agent, okay, great. Now the coding agent can allow me to see and do some more. But I've always felt that there's more people than the coders. The coders are often subservient to the product people who are bringing in the money and defining and paying for these things, and the project managers, which are controlling or guiding us to what we should be doing onto different technical resources now, back end, front end, analysts, security folks. So all these things can be built in with the power of AI, but you're not getting any more. You only get into it what you get out of it what you put into it. So the fact that AI is there isn't going to turn anybody or even let them know that all this stuff exists. So the practici that are applied here and the level of prompting, which you'll see in later in later demos is quite extraordinary. So I will say so myself. So anyways, these execution missions, are meant to run in the background or detached. Our own missions shouldn't be running, especially for a team on someone's laptop. You want to make sure that all of the cosmic emissions that are coming out of here are being saved in a common place, in a common format. We want to make sure that there's we don't want to make sure that there's any keys and private data and personal information, going in and out of this. So the whole thing about Stellarview is meant to run in, a team, an enterprise environment. So you'll see later, we'll just deploy this to the ECS containers and let them run and let them do their thing. I can close my laptop and go home. once we've kicked it off. I can go and log in from Panera and review the PR. And as you've seen, I can go refine and do some things and tell it to go again. And you're starting to see this really emerge. Because people are still controlling it. People are still telling it. But the problem is the things that people are telling right now are a bit insufficient to get what they think that they're going to get. It's great for Hello World, okay? But I think as these tooling, gets away from the code and gets more back into the software development lifecycle, and that we control and embrace what the AI has done. Now think of how we've empowered your product manager or your project manager and your engineer that's new, that doesn't understand how you develop. What are your stylistic guides? It allows everybody to be involved because everybody's involved anyways. You have a Jira Epic that project managers and business analysts are maintaining and interacting with customers on, and then creating GitHub issues attached to those that developers are doing. And then when they check that in, CI/CD pipelines are kicking off that go to certain environments that admins need to know about. So all of this environment is quickly becoming so complex that younger generation aren't having enough time to learn all those technical things. Us old folks had to learn all of those things individually and spend weeks and weeks and weeks just learning something, and that one little tiny slice. So the whole idea of Stellarview is to take those little cycles and put them right in front of you and help you, and put the practicai in and help you learn and keep going. But yet it's still forcing you to see those things, to read them, to touch them, to understand. And these aren't just words that are coming out of AI, which anybody can do this. Anybody's on a level playing field. But does it stand the muster of a professional looking at it and ready to show? And I think you'll find that it does. I'm impressed every day. So all of these things kind of show even onto the implementation overview of building the planning for you. All of these things didn't just come out by accident. I assure you that the smart prompts and then the thousands of iterations that I've done to try to model what really goes on in an environment is quite satisfying. So, all of these things have meaning, and they should have meaning, and everybody needs to discuss them. They're for a larger group. So now, we're not really sure what's happening yet. I could go view the logs. These are called cosmic emissions. Every log knows its model, start, stop, its prompt, and then we have some abilities to attach a yes, no, great, to score that later on. Also to run all the cosmic emissions through analysis. There's also some, each cosmic emission and each in and out also runs through a security check to try to find where, like we said, the PII or some of your development keys and those things that are going, those things that should stay private. So a whole bunch of things are going on in here that relate directly to good practice, security, software development life cycle. So it becomes a curriculum, and that's exactly why this looks the way it does. It is not a toy. I wanted it to look like a toy. I wanted it to operate like a space age game. I wanted it to make me think about Matthew Broderick and War Games. Looks way better than that. Or Tron. And I'll show you the true inspiration of this was a college project for interstellar travel. So that's an interesting video all by itself, but this is not a toy, but it's a great learning tool. It doesn't want to be the framework that you use forever. It wants to be the robotic suit that you wear and do great things. And then when that robotic suit comes off, you still have all those robotic capabilities to understand and to operate. And you're still back in the world that everybody knows of Jira, GitHub, Confluence, Swagger, just all of these different technologies that you'll probably be in. The software development lifecycle is going to be your ticket to be able to do things, to be accepted in a lot of these environments, and to even be hired into a lot of these environments. So how can we fast track all of that and give a framework to millions of environments or individuals, or how can we create more people that understand this? I've probably been talking for about 5 minutes. Like I said, I may shut some of this out because I can pick and choose my morsels of goodness. But at any rate, already with what we've done is, saved weeks and hundreds of conversational hours and put years of practici into this so that we can then leverage AI. So none of this would be possible going to a Claude prompt. A badass developer can go to Claude or anything else and do anything. But this is made for the mass of people who need to really get inspired, to be able to create things with a professional discipline and one that they are confident that is secure, that it's following, that it's empowering the whole team. And most of all, it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. If you hired a developer for 1 month and when they were gone, you paid them, thanked them, got great output from them, and you continued to benefit from their input forevermore, I think that's really what I'm gaming or going at here is an environment that gives you 2 or 3 of those folks, for a month of effort that will benefit you and create a lifetime of value in a company or in a person's understanding of how to do things. Now, our example of a CRM, React, Django, is only really this example that plays out in millions of apps, whether they're Python or .NET or React and Angular or PHP, Laravel. It's all the same stuff. Even on to, you'll see where a lot of this shines is even infrastructure. So even recognizing infrastructure projects like a Terraform or a CloudFormation, and the way that we break down the application and being able to understand it and show you how to run it and give you links to be able to learn the individual technologies and the steps. It's more than a tool or a framework. It becomes something I hope is unique. So I don't want it to look like every bit of other AI stuff and sound like it wanted to be everything to everyone. But I feel it's much more than most things that you've seen. And I implore you to, get involved, break it, love it. So there's lots of opportunities there. But anyways, that all started, I think I might have gotten off track with some cosmic emissions. But even with all of that, outside of some of the waiting, you can see that, an hour with the tool, and we are so much further along, and we haven't even scratched the surface. Now, some of the other things are when this is built, a concept of Genesis. Genesis is the way to recognize and start and build any unknown platform. So, for instance, when this is done, or any platform that you would already clone, is a set of prompts that act like a discovery agent to go say, okay, I have this. How do I run it? What do you need to do? How can I Dockerize this? What do you need to, what are the 5 steps you need to get this running? And it actually goes and does those things. So we'll loop back there, but essentially we have a mission created. Let's go see what we've done. So back in the issue, back in here. Yes. Awesome. So now we have a commit. Was your commit built to your specification? Did it commit according to your practicized template that says, okay, when you commit, I want certain bit of information. I need to know this. This is our PR process. A lot of the things that would be in the contributing.md, but even more so for a team or development environment. So looking at this, we see one commit here. I want to go ahead and take a look. We're not going to dive too deep yet. We'll save that for the real coding part. But for now, I want you to see the level of detail. You already saw the level of detail in the description of what we were building here. But if you now take a look at what has happened here on from the README to managing the accounts, the API, you can see all of these beautiful Python things that people have used Django will come to know. Not only that, it is decided, I don't know if I told it, I didn't read close enough, but you'll notice already, and this may have come from the Practici, but we like to Dockerize things, and many of the other apps that we're demoing here are automatically Dockerized. But this is chosen to build the Docker Compose, and if you haven't done that yet, is exciting to get some Docker skills. Super easy, but hard to get started unless someone's kind of driving you there. But now to be able to create a whole foundation and to have already the Docker Compose and see how easy it is, we're talking an hour or two with some of this stuff that's built, and you're going to feel fairly confident in the 7 commands you need to get away with Docker. That's why it's so hard to even do interviews these days. Oh yeah, I've used Docker because they did a 1 hour, and Docker PS and Docker run, and the 5-7 things get you to talk about it. Build an application and get it running and share it with your peers. Another story. But the front end, now JSX automatically can see there. To me. Also, some of the CSS tailwinds, the scripts that set up start dev. I told it to build, these things. These are things that you would have to have, you spend a lot of time going, okay, where do I start? How do I do auth? What's the best practice in auth? Okay, well, how do I lay out my code? What do I name? How do I do tests? What do I do build? So what you are seeing here is it really follow best practices much further, much quicker than most people could have done themselves. I'm going to kind of cut it right here because I'm really happy with where this went. But now I want to show you, well, how do we go to the next level? How do we just figure it out and have that thing running locally? Now, how do we push a button and run it in the cloud? And then more importantly, how do, well, you've seen the enhancement. Now it becomes enhancements and let this thing work in a cycle. Not only that, if we close this and I spawn, we're probably going to see a number of things show up where it starts to be represented as a real application. Now, can we use Atom and run it? Now, can we continue to enhance it? Those are all of the exciting things that we get to figure out. So I want you to come back with this next one because we're going to actually get this thing running. But I'm quite overjoyed at the way that worked. I hope you liked it. Rock and roll. I'll see you guys later.